so much for tuning into the NBA here on 2K Sports. Friday Hoops Fest coming up next.
We've got a chance now for our starting lineups from point guard to center. This game should be a good one. First for Chicago, D. Rose and Jimmy Butler, the backcourt. And down low, the two-time NCAA champion at Florida, the 6'11 tornado of energy and effort. It's the big man, Joakim Noah. Then it's Dang, and it's Boozer in at the power forward. And looking at the Pacers, George Hill at the 1, Paul George at the 2. And starting 7'2", one of the true giants in the game, another great big man out of Georgetown, Roy Hibbert. Then there's Danny Granger, and it's West in at the 4 spot.
People have talked about the defensive renaissance in Chicago as a big part of their turnaround, and that's accurate. Bibbs has done wonders for this team defensively, but another aspect is that they've had one of the deepest benches in the league the past few years, too.
Gets it to go.
Nice pass. He got the ball right into his teammate's shooting pocket. On time and on target.
Rose goes in. Hill's there. And there's the whistle on the shot. Took the foul. Shot misses. He'll be shooting 2. Go back to what you said, Clark, about Chicago. It is a credit to them that they've been able to constantly add or draft talent that is ready to step in for them. And Steve contribute off the bench.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You think about Taj Gibson, a late first-round pick. Jimmy Butler last year really emerged as one of the best young players in the league. Great story. So terrific job by the Bulls front office in figuring out which player to take later in the first round.
Now the feed to George. Down to 5 on the shot clock. Granger with the bucket. Now go to Doris Burke, who spoke with Tom Thibodeau. Doris?
We talked about David West and what makes him such a tough player to defend. Coach said, West is special because he's so skilled for a player of his size and strength. He can score inside and also spread the floor with his shooting. He can have a quiet night and still drop 20 and 10. So we've got to stay conscious of him at all times. Guys, we'll see how they do against him.
And as always, Doris, thank you. Hill against Rose. Makes it off the glass.
That's just run-of-the-mill for him. A typical day at the office. He's one of the more skilled offensive players out there.
Hill with it.
You know, with all of the improvements in medicine and also the advances in rehabilitation after torn ACL surgeries, we've seen a number of players come back to be as good as they were before the injury. Derrick Rose's fans had to be feeling good about what level he would return at when he came back.
That's his second foul already, and that's going to force him to, I think, tone it down a little bit at the defensive end.
Going back to the ACL repair for Rose. Clark, great to see modern medicine extend players' careers and help them return from those tough injuries. Steve, it's been terrific watching these players come back. We really didn't see Rose last year, certainly. I expect this year he'll be terrific.
Well, it's so great to see Derrick Rose back on the court after missing last season. One of the most explosive, entertaining players in the NBA. A great guy, terrific team leader. The NBA needs Derrick Rose, so fun to have him back.
And he was fouled on the way up. 2 free throws now for him.
Noah once again had a really solid season, but his field goal percentage numbers dropped from where they had been the past few years. I think part of it was not having Derrick Rose on the floor, and then also he was hurt. Plantar fasciitis bothered him some, but not having Rose, I think, led to Noah forcing the issue a bit.
The basket counts and 1. He'll go to the line with a chance to make it a 3-point play.
Well, he recognized the advantage size-wise, and he went right at the defender. That's how you do it.
Well, and speaking of Noah, some dip into his finishing numbers. You wonder if his injuries played a part in that.
Yeah, Coach Thibodeau rode him pretty hard. Career high in minutes. In fact, second most per game among centers in the NBA last season. And we remember he had the foot injury during the playoffs, so he's always had some health issues, but he's battled through them.
Are you surprised that he's become the warrior that he's become in the NBA?
Not really, Kevin. He was a winner at Florida, a guy who loved to play. He's got a lot of passion for the game.
George passes to Hill. Hibbert with the screen for Hill. In low to Scola. Good, and it's Hill picking up the assist. Skola's got his second basket of the game.
You know, they've been so effective when they've been able to get the ball inside.
Some real shortcomings from this defense. I mean, they've given up 5 straight looks in the paint.
Rose, good.
And I'll say this about him, Kevin. I mean, it looks like he's made of rubber sometimes because defenders just bounce off him when he's driving the lane. What a finisher.
And perhaps the best thing about him, Steve, is the way he takes charge down the stretch of close games. The higher the stakes, the better he plays.
Here's Granger, following the score by Derrick Rose.
Well, Indiana's success last season was built around its defensive prowess, and they usually would set the tone at the start of the game. They were one of the best in the league at allowing the fewest first-quarter points.
Bulls making a switch here. Gibson's checked in. Indiana trailing here. Hill dishes to Stevenson. And there's the pass to Scola. From down low. That one a little long. Going back to the Pacers once more, you knew they wanted to emphasize defense each game, and Steve, they would always come out and get right in the offensive player's face to start the game.
And they allowed the fewest first-quarter points of any team in the league last year, Kevin. That's a great way to kind of set the tempo, set the tone in a ball game, and the Pacers were able to establish that defense right away.
Chris Copeland's checked in for Indiana. Watson comes in for George Hill.
Easy look there, but, you know, he misses those once in a while.
Here's Dunleavy. Oh, and it looks like that's going to be a goaltending call. Yep, that's it. So they'll get the basket.
I'll tell you what, the post play has been rock solid right off the bat.
Well, that's the key to basketball. Get the ball inside, into the paint, either with a pass or with penetration.
Poked away. Granger kicks to Watson. Banked in off the glass.
And that's 10 straight points in the paint. I mean, defensively, the wind has just been knocked out of their sails.
Need to get more bodies committed down low.
Here's Dunleavy. Here's Heinrich. Uses the glass to finish the layup. Now Stevenson. He passes to Watson. Now the dish to Copeland. Kicks it to Watson. The feather touch on the finger roll. Beautiful.
Dropped that one in as soft as a feather using the finger roll.
For Chicago, they've gone 5 of 8 from the field, shooting over 62%. Heinrich passes to Gibson. Good, and Heinrich gets the assist. Gibson's got his first basket of the night.
Nicely done. They just continue to dominate inside. That's 10 points in a row in the lane.
It's now purely here it comes. See if you can stop it.
Watson with it, guarded by Heinrich, and the shot is good. 6 points for Luis Scola.
Everybody on the floor is hot. Incredible stuff here in the early stages.
Tell you what, both teams playing downhill. Who's going to blink first?
Now here's Dang. No scoring yet from him, but that's likely to change. Granger dishes to Watson. He kicks it to Stevenson. Outside Scola. Watson. Tries again. Some solid defense from Butler. And Dang, here we go. Gets it to go. Dang's got his first basket. Well, it's been a high-scoring, competitive game through the first quarter of play. Bulls lead by 3. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back to the NBA on 2K. Sports, more action in store as the players get ready to go, having a nice break to get hydrated with Gatorade. And Steve and Clark and I are refreshed and ready to go here as well. And guys, let's get your take on the hustle stats for the Bulls.
It looks like they're ready to run, fellas. I mean, they haven't hesitated at all to get out on the break so far.
And the other thing they're doing is forcing a lot of turnovers, and that's helping them to get easy points at the other end.
And Doris Burke has a report for us from the sideline.
Gentlemen, gentlemen, Roy Hibbert is pretty good friends with Tim Duncan. Hibbert recalls when they met. He said, "I met him when I was a kid during the 2001 NBA All-Star Game in D.C., and he actually remembers that moment. We share scouting reports on other teams. It's just a friendship. I learn from him, and you know, he's the best. So I don't know if he picks up anything from me, but I definitely learn from him." Kevin, a great tutor for the young Hibbert.
Hard to think of a better mentor for Roy than the great Tim Duncan. Thanks, Doris.
You know, it had been a while since the Pacers were able to win their division. Matter of fact, the last time it happened was the season right before the NBA realigned the divisions to their current state back in 2004. But they were able to raise another banner last season.
The Pacers making a switch here. Hibbert's checked in.
Deng is a versatile small forward, Kevin, able to do so many things that help you win games. He can score in transition. He can knock down that jump shot off of 1 or 2 dribbles. And then a very engaged defender who's got length and really good fundamental technique at that end of the floor.
I agree wholeheartedly there, and he's also a nice complementary scorer. I mean, able to knock down the spot-up jumper, a steady 15 to 18 points per game scorer, pretty much his whole career. Rock solid and steady.
West kicks to Watson. No good. That would have tied it. Well, a big part of why the Pacers were able to take the Central, as you were saying, Clark, they were so dominant within their division.
Well, they went 13-3 against their division, so not an easy thing to do. Although, if you look at the Central, it was down last year. Derrick Rose's injury, but also rebuilding teams in Milwaukee and Detroit and Cleveland. But the Pacers did what they needed to do.
Pacers trail by 5. Passes to Hibbert. Gibson on him. Watson for 3. Gets it to go. Watson's got 4 points now in the quarter.
That's something we didn't see at all from him in the first half when he had a goose egg from three-point land.
When Hibbert came into the league, guys, everybody assumed he'd be a project, and that's been accurate. But projects can pay off, and to have a player with his size and work ethic and skill is a huge payday for the Pacers.
So here is West after Marcus Teague's bucket. Stevenson passes to Watson. Backing down is Hibbert. Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give him 2 chances at the free throw line here. And going back to Hibbert, and Clark, you mentioned this, looked at as a project when he came in, taken with the 17th pick, Steve, back in 08, in a draft that you were involved with Phoenix.
Well, we took Robin Lopez at 14 because he just had much better mobility athletically. We were shocked that Hibbert could eventually develop the kind of speed and lateral quickness that he's done. So pretty impressive that he's put all this work in and defied his critics.
And so here is Indiana following the miss by Derrick Rose. Puts it up and misses it off the right side of the rim.
You've got to like what they've been doing down there in the low post, Clark.
I do. I love it. Their rebounding has been outstanding. So important in a tight game.
And they're beginning to fall apart a little bit defensively, especially inside.
Well, that's 4 straight buckets now at the rim.
Pacers trail by 4. Watson with it, and Rose picks him up defensively. To the paint. Copeland can't hit. The Bulls have gone 4 of 6 from the field here in the second. And it's Rose penetrating. Puts up the baby hook. Here's Boozer. Lays it up and banks it in. And the Bulls lead by 6.
Boy, they keep hammering away at them inside, forcing that ball into the paint. Smash mouth basketball.
Yeah, and it's a strategy that has served them well in this opening half, Clark.
And, you know, you talk about Frank Vogel, guys, and the Pacers. It seemed he won over his roster from the moment he took over. He placed a lot of confidence and trust in his players, and most importantly, brought a breath of positivity and positive energy to that locker room and to that team.
Stevenson dishes to West. That one wide left.
And the defense did a pretty good job of closing off the middle once he got inside the lane.
Rose with the ball. Now defended by Stevenson. Here's Boozer. Goes back up. And the layup is up and in.
And as the game has gone along, they've gotten much more aggressive on the offensive boards.
You know, crashing the boards is really an effort thing. It's an attitude and effort thing. And if teams get tired, they usually take a break on crashing the board. one, but they've done just the opposite here.
Let's check out what Doris Burke has for us.
Gentlemen, last season it seemed there was a little back and forth between head coach Tom Thibodeau and the Bulls front office regarding the big minutes he gave his starters. Thibodeau said, quote, "It's never the right amount of minutes. That's the only thing I know. If a guy's not playing big minutes, it's not enough minutes. And if a guy's playing big minutes, it's too many minutes. So you play to win. That's the whole thing. And when you're a young team, guys can handle minutes. But guys, both Dang and Noah missed significant time. Noah only playing 66 games in the regular season. Dang out through the last 7 games of the playoffs. You wonder if maybe they have a point."
They've worked to round out the roster, Doris. That should help those minutes stay down. Rose gets the bucket. Pacers trail by 10. Outside Hill. Back to West. Good. The assist goes to Hill. And that's now 6 points for David West.
You know, he's got a lot of inches on the defender in that matchup, and he can just shoot right over the top of him without worrying about being bothered.
Good.
And at the offensive end, he's done about as much as they could have hoped for today.
Indiana's gone 1 of 3 from way outside since the start of the second quarter. The drive by Hill. He dishes it to West. That is good. West has got 6 here in this quarter.
Well, you know, he has shot the ball well, but it has not been contagious. And his teammates, they haven't had the same groove, and that's why we're looking at this result so far.
Now here's Rose. 16 points for him. Hill against Rose. Now here's West. He's tightly guarded. Lays it in without an inch of room around him. West has got 10. Here comes Heinrich. Rose goes in. Just 3 on the clock. No luck. And the first half is now in the books. It's the Bulls up 6. And coming up after the break, it'll be Damon Bruce breaking down all the highlights from the first half of play.
Now, presented by Sprint.
Hey everyone, I'm Damon Bruce. A great game going on out in Indiana. The Bulls have been rolling along. They've been a terror in transition, dicing up the D on the open court. A valuable contribution so far by Carlos Boozer. He's chipped in 4 points and also helped out with 2 rebounds. And doing their best to stay alive, the Indiana Pacers. They've gotten a tremendous boost from their reserves, going to them early in the game for production. They've got some great minutes out of David West. Big man punching the clock tonight. He's putting in the rugged work, putting up a lot of points down there, just what they were hoping for on the low blocks. Now time to get you back out to the game in Indiana. Second half coming right up.
The Sprint Halftime Report, presented by Sprint.
And it's been a back-and-forth game so far with no ground given through the first half. Third quarter starting here now.
Excellent game we've seen from Derrick Rose. 16 points, and he's done his job at the charity stripe. He's gotten 4 of his points from there.
And that's a good place to get them. You know, they don't come easier than that, but you've got to get yourself there first.
You know, as the Bulls have been one of the tougher teams the last few seasons, they've done it through dominating the glass and tough defense. Had some injuries to deal with last year, but at the core, this is a defensive-minded team. That's why they're always competitive.
And the call will be against Joakim Noah. That's his first foul. West kicks to Granger. Back to West. Some nice passing here by Indiana. The 10-footer. And it's Hibbert missing. And the Bulls in the top 5 in offensive rebound rate last season.
Yeah, for a team that struggled to produce points with Derrick Rose out the entire season, those extra possessions are just so valuable. And it's no surprise, really. I mean, the way this team hits the boards, Tom Thibodeau always getting peak effort out of his guys.
Here's George, following the score by Luol Deng. Back to West, and he jams it after taking the nice feed on the run. Well, as far as the defense goes, Clark, that is not what's going to keep them in this lead.
Yeah, but from the other perspective, you can see just how much that dunk pumped those players up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, guys. I sense a little bit of a momentum shift here.
Here's Rose following the score by Indiana. Here's Boozer. Yes, and it's Rose with the assist that time. 6 points for Carlos Boozer.
Well, sometimes when you're at a height disadvantage, that's the way to attack. Go right at your defender.
Boozer had his name floated around at the trade deadline last season, guys. There were a number of teams that were very interested in having his physicality and scoring ability down low. That's a clean look they gave him there, fellas, and he drains those.
Pass to Rose. And the layup's good off the glass. Rose has got 18 points.
Nothing but money for him to start the half. They've made all 3 of their shot attempts.
And you wonder why Boozer's name would be floated in trade rumors. I mean, one of the top rebounding power forwards in the game, can score inside and outside.
Well, I think, Kevin, teams are becoming more and more cap conscious with the new collective bargaining agreement. And Boozer is a very highly paid player, so even though he's productive, I think some people are going to look at that contract and maybe shy away from it.
Taj Gibson's checked in for Chicago.
They built their lead here by doing all the little things well.
And one of those things has been rebounding, Clark, because they have really come out and taken control of the boards.
And 2 shots coming up at the line as he gets fouled on the shot.
Well, Carlos Boozer wasn't as efficient last season as we've seen in the past, and I think in large part it was due to the extended absence of Derrick Rose. He was the bailout option for the team on many occasions.
Mike Dunleavy, he's checked in for Jimmy Butler. And Clark, for Boozer, you talked about his offensive efficiency. Strong, physical player, but he only averaged about, Steve, I think like 3 free throws a game last season.
Well, he's a fadeaway jump shooter. He's an excellent offensive player, pretty efficient in his scoring. But most of his post-ups end up in fadeaway jump shots, and that's why he doesn't get to the line very often.
Bulls making a switch here. Noah's checked in. Butler attacking, and it's going to be 2 free throws. Drew contact on the shot.
Jimmy Butler was the last pick of the first round back in 2011 by the Bulls. And last season, I tell you what, he really solidified his place in the rotation, guys. He's still developing his outside shot, but he brings an awful lot to light to the table.
And for Jimmy Butler, what a story. Abandoned as a child, bounced around from home to home. One coach would take him in, other family would take him in. It was a very tough upbringing down in the Houston area. He overcame tremendous odds. And to be where he is today with the great attitude after a short time at Marquette, it speaks volumes of his character.
Well, it sure shows in his play, doesn't it? I mean, just the way he hustles and draws fouls, rebounds, defends. He can guard multiple positions out there. I just love his overall game and his toughness and what he brings to this team.
Now, here is George. He's been patient so far, nothing yet on the scoreboard. And once again, off the mark by Indiana. Dunleavy, the pass to Heinrich. That misses off the backboard.
Now, still a great start to the half after hitting their first 3, even before that miss.
And George kicks to Scola. Back to George. Shoots the 3. And yes, sir, that one drops. George has got himself on the board with 3 there.
That is not enough coverage. Got to do better than that defensively. Basically, no coverage. I mean, defense did not look very good there.
For 3, Heinrich. And that one's good.
This is great. 3-pointers going down quickly at both ends.
Yeah, it took them no time to answer back on that possession. In one of the more compelling postseason stories, the question about when the Bulls would bring Derrick Rose back just continued to hover around the playoffs. Ultimately, just never happened.
Now here's Granger. The 3 from George. And again, it's the Pacers from team.
With the success they've been having from the three-point line since halftime, I'll bet you that scoreboard starts to look a lot different real soon.
Of course, they have to stay hot, but if they do, I think you're right, Mark, particularly if they can convert defense into offense.
And the Bulls making a change here. Murphy's checked in. Going back to the Bulls, and even without Rose, I think the team made a big statement, Steve, with how they played in the postseason. They showed that they weren't just a one-man show with Rose running things and have a solid core and system that will always compete.
Well, it's the second straight year that the Bulls have essentially been without.
Ridiculous. Tore it down that time. Even when they're down, he's still looking to do the spectacular. And he pulled it off.
Well, maybe this is the best time to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, now's when they need a little spark anyway.
He dishes it to Dunlap. Stolen by Granger. It's Hill on the wing. He's covered by Dang, and it's going to be out of bounds. The Bulls will take it. The Bulls leading by 5. And some nice ball movement here by Chicago. And Dunleavy gets it to go in. Dunleavy's got his second bucket of the night. 1:11 left in the third. Hill against Dang. Pass to West. Leads him in there. Here's Granger. Stolen. Dishes to West.
What a stellar outing in this one for David West. He has 14 points and the 1 steal.
Boy, he's been so good both offensively and defensively, Clark. I'm not sure which way he's been better.
I don't think he's missed a beat at either end.
And he ends up missing both free throws.
You can talk about a lot of other power forwards around the league, and even though Luis Scola never really explodes for monster games, a lot of his opponents will tell you he's one of the toughest guys to deal with because he's so consistent and has a lot of versatility to his offensive game.
And so Teague hits 2 free throws. On speaking of Luis Scola, 2-time MVP of the Spanish League. Didn't come to the NBA until his late 20s, but boy, when he arrived, he made a dent.
He was ready to go immediately because of his experience in Europe, where he was a go-to scoring threat. And, you know, he could do a lot of things offensively, whether it was posting up or making that mid-range jump shot.
We've got a 9-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. George passes to Granger. And it's Dunleavy with the rebound. Dunleavy's got his 4th rebound in this one. Here's Teague, and that one's good. Teague's got 4 this quarter.
Man, a gaping hole in the defense that time, and he didn't waste any time getting through it.
Tipped away. West defended by Gibson.
Yeah, he had not established position.
You know, I'd prefer the refs to whistle with a block when in doubt. I thought that was a good call there.
The Pacers have shot 4 of 7 as a team from the line tonight. Several misses early. No good on the second, so he hits 1 of 2. There's Rose with the 3. Buried it just in the nick of time.
He sure did. Right on cue. Man, was that major drama. He loves those situations, though.
Boy, that was big time. Knew exactly how much time he had left, squared up, and let it fly.
And here at the end of the third quarter, it's a double-digit ball game. Bulls lead by 13. And fourth quarter basketball will be coming your way on 2K Sports. And we welcome you back as we get going here in the fourth quarter. The final quarter of play can change everything. And a look at how the offensive approach has been going here so far for the Bulls.
Anytime you get as many points in the paint as they have, you know you've got a good thing going and you just want to keep it going.
And another thing they're doing is really taking advantage of fast break opportunities, scoring some easy baskets.
Here is Watson. He's covered by Rose. Stolen by Noah. It's tipped. It's off his foot. And it's whistled a kick. George Hill's checked in for C.J. Watson.
George Hill.
Rose goes in. And he banks in the layup. Rose has got 23 points.
Well, we've seen that more than a few times. An easy bucket in the lane.
Yeah, the interior defense simply has been lifeless.
George against Heinrich. There's the 3. Rebound by the Bulls. Noah's got his 4th rebound in this one. Heinrich kicks to Boozer. Rose. Dishes to Noah. And so it looks like the Bulls will retain possession here. Luis Scola. He's checked in for Indiana. About a minute played here in the fourth quarter. The blocking foul is called as the shot goes down.
Just another outstanding play down low. These teams couldn't be farther apart in their effectiveness in the paint today.
Yeah, that's right. It's been all good at one end, and we'll try to be diplomatic here and just say not so good at the other.
Hill dishes to George. Feeds to Scola, and Carlos Boozer gets the whistle that time. And that'll be his 3rd foul so far. a few possessions into the fourth quarter, just over a minute played. And Carlos Boozer gets the whistle that time. That's his fourth foul of the contest.
And that fourth foul might force him to scale back the aggression defensively a little bit. He does not want to pick up number 5.
And the Pacers call time here.
You know, in order to win your division, you have to be able to win games against the rest of your conference, and that's exactly what Indiana did last season. A tough team in a tough division, and they gave no ground to other teams in the East.
Scola passes to George. Drops in the layup for 2. George has got 10 points in just the second half.
I think he's been kind of passive today, and maybe that one will get him going. I think for them to be successful, he needs to be the one to do the bulk of the scoring.
Here's Rose. And that one comes up a bit short. And the Pacers, as you mentioned, Clark, very solid against the other teams in the East as they would cruise to a 31-20 record against the rest of the conference.
And really, that's because this team is built to handle anything that's thrown at them. Kevin, it's a big, strong, kind of old-school team. They'll pound you inside, they rebound, they protect the paint. They're on a lot of matchups that seem to bother this team.
Now here's Granger. Back to Hibbert. Outside, George fires it up. And again, it's Indiana converting. The Bulls leading by 13. It's stolen by Hill. Granger drives in.
Easy call there.
No question about that one. You could hear the impact from where I am.
That free throw missing.
Well, guys, for the Pacers, it's been a slow and long climb from the malice at the Palace back in 04. But now, with a terrific young team fresh off a strong showing in the Eastern Conference Finals, we can finally say the Pacers are back, and they're going to be around for a while contending for championships.
Pacers have gone 3 of 4 in field goal attempts since getting things started here in the fourth. Hill gets a screen from Hibbert. Hill kicks to Hibbert. Offensive rebound, and that one is good with the extra effort on the glass.
He's really adept at keeping possessions alive by hitting the boards and cashing in on some of those putbacks.
And another thing he's known for all over the league is what an angry shot blocker he is. He does it with an attitude when he knocks it out of the air and sends it behind the shooter.
Let's find out what Doris Burke has for us.
Thanks, Kevin. Tom Thibodeau had some words for his team in that last huddle. His advice clear-cut. I want to see you playing to win, not playing not to lose. I don't care what the lead is. We do not back off.
And for the Pacers, ever since that unfortunate night in Detroit, the attendance in Indiana has sagged. They've been at the bottom half percentage-wise, Steve, for the last 9 years.
Well, it's time for the fans to come back, Kevin. This is an elite team. They've got really high character, good guys. Ticket prices are about 60% less than the league norm. One of the best arenas in the NBA, and hey, it's Indiana. I mean, this is a basketball state.
Well, I think one of the stories has been rebound.
Great job. Taking it right at the defense. I like the aggressiveness.
Yeah, he left them no choice but to foul there.
And the first one at the line is good. And absolutely, Clark, they're just too tough inside.
Yeah, Kevin, they've completely dominated the boards here, and that's a major factor in what looks to be a win. Bulls had won the Central each of the last 2 seasons, but were unable to make it 3 in a row as the Pacers grabbed the Central Division title last season. Still, considering the injuries, the Bulls had a good run.
The shot by George, no good. The Bulls leading by 13. Deflects the pass. Stolen by Granger. And George, here we go. Muhammad pulls it in.
Well, those chances are almost always 2 points for him. I guess the defense did what it had to do to bother him.
And back to the Bulls. They went 9-7 in division last year, Steve, and kept pace with the Pacers for a while for the title, but never could really close the gap.
Seems like the Bulls are always in the mix for the Central Division title. I mean, since the realignment in 2004, the Bulls have never finished in the bottom of this division, and more often than not, they're in one of the top 2 spots.
Time called here. Indiana decides to talk it over. They're trailing by 15. 1:56 left in the fourth. So Chicago ends up going with the new group. 1:56 left here in the fourth quarter. Granger drives in. That's good. Bulls have gone 5 of 7 from the field since the beginning of the fourth. Strong work at that end of the floor. He feeds it to Gibson. Into Noah. So the whistle blows on the shot and 2 free throws for the contact right there.
You know, Joakim Noah, part of those back-to-back championship teams at Florida, 2006 and 7, was kind of skinny in college in his first years in the league. But he's done a really good job of adding muscle to his frame. That work in the weight room and in his basement have served him well.
And with the big minutes that Joakim Noah is asked to play, it's a good thing he's been so dedicated to staying in shape.
He's another player, Kevin, who does yoga in the off-season. He's even trained with big wave surfers in Hawaii, going underwater with weights in his hands, doing jumping and running. Pretty interesting training regimen, but of course he's a very interesting guy.
Pretty wild, huh?
They are not letting up, guys. They just keep coming at him.
And I'd say that lead is too big to overcome at this point.
Stolen by Noah. And here we go, the Bulls fast break. And it's good.
Their interior defense has been dismal.
Yeah, and unfortunately their offense in the paint hasn't been a whole lot better.
Pacers trail by 17. Back to Granger. Outside Hill. We've got 1:08 left in the fourth quarter. For the 3. And the Pacers can't get it to go.
And in the paint, they have really shown some strength. Their work on the boards has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd certainly call it a mismatch, Steve, at least for today.
Time called here. The Bulls decide to talk it over. They're in front by 17. 1:02 left in the fourth quarter. So Chicago going with an almost entirely new group here. Chicago leading by 17. Boozer goes in. Bulls moving the ball around. Skola's there. From the baseline. Boozer no luck. Indiana's gotten just 1 of 4 3-pointers to go down for them here in the fourth. Here's Copeland. He's covered by Deng. Watson for 3. No good.
Well, they're fortunate. The defense was taking a big chance, leaving him that wide open behind the arc.
Gets it to go. And the Bulls lead by 19.
Boy, you relish these sorts of road games where you come in and you get the job done.
In a long schedule with the kinds of pressure of travel and tough opponents throughout the season, it's always good when you play a game like they have here.
Probably time to just say it, guys. This game is over.
I think you're right on target there.
And the foul on Derrick Rose. So that will be his second foul of the game. We're in the bonus. We'll go to the line to shoot 2. And that one goes in. 2 from the line that time. Again, Chicago.
And they're not finished yet. They're going to make sure about this win.
Yeah, that's how you close out a game, Steve.
Here's Watson. And so Chicago takes this one, and by a big margin. Not much to be critical of with this win, Clark.
Not at all. I mean, they showed up not just to play. They showed up to give great effort and to win, and they did both.